Hey guys, welcome back to According To. I'm Megan.
And I'm Ciera. For this week's episode, Megan and I thought it would be fun to do like a flashback and then like a flash forward to today's point in time. About 2 years ago, we did an episode where we predicted what our lives would look like 1 year from then. So it's been 2 years from that point.
That episode was December 2021. So technically, we are kind of predicting December 2022. Obviously, it's October 2023 now, so we're getting close to the 2-year mark instead. But honestly, like doing that extra time, there were some things that didn't happen in that timeline, but then happened like a little bit later. So I think it'll be fun to kind of revisit just different things that we were talking about, what we pictured for our life, and just compare what did happen, what didn't happen, if things were a whole lot different or not. So I went through and re-listened to that episode this morning just to take some notes on what we talked about, and Ciera can obviously join in as
and we can discuss
warranted.
In the meantime, before we get started with the bulk of today's episode, we like to do our weekly spotlights. And so our weekly spotlight is just whatever happened since the last time of recording that's, made us happy and feel good.
Brought a smile to our face, whatever it may be.
Honestly, do you have one off the top of your head? Because I am lacking.
Let me see. We went and did breakfast with
It's like anything good, anything
our
positive.
grandma and mom and Haley and Henry on Saturday morning. That was good.
My breakfast itself wasn't that good, though.
You didn't
I was
like it?
I was a little underwhelmed. So we went to Perkins, and lately when we've been going out to get breakfast, I've been like in a strawberry mood. And so like historically, I have gotten chocolate chip pancakes, and then I've always liked strawberries and like strawberry sweets and stuff. So I like strawberry shortcake and just stuff like that. And so recently I've been getting like strawberries with my pancakes or like strawberry French toast. And when we went to Perkins, they had like this whole French toast menu of like new French toast items.
Yeah, like
and some
lots
of them
of
were
options.
There's a lot of crazy
Dense,
options.
yeah.
Very sugary. And so I saw one that was like a chocolate covered strawberry option. And I was like, well, I like chocolate and like I like strawberries. So like it could be good. I did end up splitting it with my mom because we both thought it looked kind of good. So my mom and I had decided to share it because honestly, most breakfast platters are too big for me anyways. And my mom was looking at it too, and she thought it looked good, and so we decided to split it. And it was too chocolatey. I feel like there's way too much sugar. And I say that as someone who is like fine with sweets and sugar. It was a lot. And I just also don't know if like the chocolate with the French toast, like maybe I'm not like a big chocolate and cinnamon person. I don't know.
Just wasn't.
It was
hitting.
too much, and so I did not finish all the French toast.
Did you have any other
spotlight tab?
spotlight? Yeah.
Not really.
Breakfast was the highlight.
Breakfast that I just said that I didn't even like. It was the people.
It's been a cold week. It's just been like kind of miserable outside. So I can't wait for winter. I guess highlights. Vegas is now fully vaccinated, and we're gonna possibly try out doggy daycare next week. So like hasn't happened yet, but like slowly working on getting that stuff set up.
We should have some highlights to talk about hopefully next week, because I was running through like some stuff on our to-do list this week and like stuff that we want to do. And we have some exciting stuff, not like for you guys really, but like for us. I'm not trying to like hype anything up.
But like since getting Vegas, obviously like we're very fortunate. We've like had weekends away because we had stuff already planned. But like during the week, especially, it's just been a lot of like, we just come home and hang out with him, which is all great and good. He's a great guy, but
but it'd be fun to like bring him places. So we're excited that we can start doing that. And we'll like start taking him on walks and stuff. It's all gonna be great. I was gonna say something that you just reminded me of that now I can't remember what that was. So if it comes back to me.
He's a great guy.
No. Oh, I did remember.
Oh.
That's not even what it's related to. But the new Priscilla movie comes out this Friday.
Ooh, yes.
And I think Megan and I are planning on going to see that.
It's funny because like if you've been a listener since last summer when the Elvis movie came out, like you know that movie holds a special place.
Literally,
in
this
our
wall
heart.
art behind us is Elvis themed because of that movie.
we just love that movie. Like a 10 out of a 10 movie. For many different reasons. It's like partially like I love the music, I love the cinematography, I love the portrayal of the characters, but it's also become like memeified in a way between Ciera and myself.
Where it's like we
Where
find
it's
like
all
some
love.
parts funny.
Yeah, it's just all love.
Like we make fun of different parts.
Anyways, that being said, obviously this whole production of
Vegas's
the Priscilla
namesake
movie
is literally in part
inspired.
due to the movie.
But like obviously this whole Priscilla production has been known for quite a while. Like I've been kind of like, they can't be doing this to Austin Butler and Elvis, and you know, so I've kind of been like begrudgingly like,
They can't
I will
do
stand
this.
by the Elvis movie. And then
The trailer came
maybe
out.
2 weeks ago or whatever it was.
It was longer than that.
Well, anyways, the trailer came out, and I of course was like, well, I'm gonna watch it. And I had my own thoughts about it, and then I brought it up to Ciera, and she was also kind of like,
I was like, well, you were sitting down, you're like, have you seen that new Priscilla trailer? And I was like, yeah,
looks
Loki was
good.
really good. And then Megan's like, yeah, I thought so too.
So, but you know what? I'm kind of like, at the end of the day, I like a good movie, okay?
Mm-hmm. It's mostly just, honestly, I need to separate Elvis the person from like Elvis in the movie, because that's really how I came to like be interested in him as a person, but like it really is like the movie for me. And so I was like, well, they can't make Elvis look bad. And I'm like, I don't have any like stake in Elvis Presley as a person. Like, you know, I've been listening to his music here and there because I like, you know, listening to it in the movie. I was like, oh, I actually like
this
these
is
songs.
his music.
It's just funny how like I know that I know those songs. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But then like listening to it in a movie format where it's like, you know, one hit after another, I'm like, dang, Elvis had some bangers.
So we are maybe going to try and see that on Friday when it comes out. And we'll maybe let you guys know our thoughts on it and how it compares. They're definitely like, they're different
They're not the
vibes,
same
though.
movie.
Like
I think that this Priscilla movie
which is
isn't
probably
going to
good.
paint
Can
him
be a good thing.
in the best light. I mean, like, there's critiques on him in both movies, I'm sure, but I think it's going to be a completely different vibe, so it'll be interesting.
Do they have music? Like, I mean, I don't really know what they do with his music or not in this movie, or if it's all just like
I have no idea.
just the movie. So, looking forward to that. We were also like, I mean, nothing's planned, but Ciera and I were like, we were doing some video planning this week, and we were like just trying to come up with different ideas and whatnot, and what our November was gonna look like. And then we were kind of like, somehow that turned into looking at flights for weekend trips away, and we're like, we need to stop. What are we doing? I'm always down for a weekend trip, but we just, you know, this is like the first, not even full weekend for you. We haven't had a full weekend at home with the both of us in like over a month, I don't think, actually. Because I worked at least one day last weekend, you worked a day this weekend, and then we were traveling before that. So, you know,
Wow.
a weekend with just both of us here would do us wonders.
Probably. And we have, realistically, we're probably not planning anything, but
What I
it's
need
fun
to do
look at.
is plan ahead for this supposed vacation I'm taking next year,
Right.
because I would need to book stuff for that. Yeah, that's kind of it. We can do our book updates.
I have no update to give because I'm still reading Demon Copperhead, and I don't think I told you guys that.
I am, or still am, reading the Happy Ever After playlist. I'm looking over here because I have it on the couch next to me. My goal is to finish it today, but I don't know if that's quite going to happen because I still have like over 100 pages left. Let me see exactly, because I'm like, how many pages is this? 300?
Would you say
Oh,
this is
yeah.
your least favorite Abby Jimenez book that you've read?
Probably, but it's not bad. Yeah, I'm not finished it tonight, I don't think. I've got like 150 pages left.
Ooh, that would be hefty. I need to figure out a good time to read besides bedtime because I am so tired at night. Like,
You gotta do it when he starts sleeping out here.
I know. But then I have to like go upstairs and get my book, and then he wakes up, and
That's why you always gotta try and keep it down here if you can.
Anyway, but
My next book that I'm gonna try and read is Fourth Wing. Just because I feel like it'd be a good time to do that one. So that's all I have planned right now for my reads.
1989 Taylor's version came out. I think Megan and I have mentioned like we're like, you know, Taylor Swift fans, but I wouldn't say like we're Swifties, you know. And I honestly don't even know all the songs in 1989, But for her album re-releases, I typically like to go through and like listen to the songs that I do like and know, and then like I'll go through the vault songs to see if there's any new songs that I like. And what's the last one called? Like, Is It Over Now or something like that?
Yeah.
Whatever that one's called.
Is It Over?
Is the one that I like most of the from the vault tracks, but I haven't even listened to like all of them all the way through.
Yeah, I haven't listened to them like enough to form an opinion, really.
What's so crazy, and like the Swifties are crazy, and they'll admit to it, but Meg and I were talking about like just the original versions and then like the Taylor's versions of those songs, and how people are like, this song is completely different, like it's not even the same song. And I'm just like, for me, all of these songs, they sound the same. The re-recordings, like you could probably play one or the other and have me guess, and it would go 50-50 either way. Like they sound similar enough that I cannot tell the difference. So, but again, some of these Swifties, they're like, this note, or like, she's saying this one more angrily.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're a Swiftie, let us know your thoughts on any of the new songs or the re-recordings.
Are we ready?
I think so.
So I know we kind of prefaced time frame at the beginning, but again, when we recorded the original episode, December 2021, we were in our second year of physical therapy school. And we have now, it's almost been a year since we graduated physical therapy school. So,
Isn't that crazy?
so we're just going to go through the list, and if there's any tangents we go off on, great. If we just work our way through the list, that's fine too. So, the first thing that we were talking about was obviously like the most matter-of-fact things regarding like, okay, a year from now, we are going to be graduating PT school. And we were talking kind of about like graduation specifics, how like we weren't going to have our apartment anymore, and we'd have to like find a hotel or something to stay in for graduation. So we can kind of start with like that. Obviously, like, yes, that happened.
It's kind of like, it's so funny now because like that was like, you know, before all this happened, like we were just looking into the future, and like now I'm like looking back in the past because I'm like, oh, like this is what we did. We vlogged it too. So we vlogged our whole like last couple days before we graduated, and Meg and I were actually just talking like about old vlogs and stuff, and how I have like this double, not like a double life, that's not the right word or the right way to say it, but I can simultaneously like picture myself like being back in a certain time period of my life, and I feel like I can go back to that and like jump into that time of my life, no issue, and like no time has passed. But I also can look at it and say like, wow,
You were different then.
that was like a different point in time. And so like I was looking at old vlogs and stuff of like us being in physical therapy school, and so I was thinking like, wow, my life is so different now. I don't live in Iowa City anymore. I don't go to classes. Like I don't see all these people that I used to see every day. And like it's so different, but in the same vein, I feel like I could like drive up to Iowa City, go back into my apartment, and like get ready for class, and like it was like I never left.
Yeah, I feel like, so obviously we graduated, we did do like the stay in the hotel for a little bit just because that seemed easier than figuring out staying somewhere else or like with a friend that still had an apartment. And that all worked out fine and dandy. So nothing new
I
there.
love a hotel stay.
Me too.
One thing about me,
Even like, I said this like a couple months ago, like sometime over the summer, I was kind of like, Ciera, you and I could just like, if we wanted to, like, we could just like go stay at a hotel. But I was like, why would I do that? Because that's not a good way to spend my money. But like, you have the freedom to do that. Then we were talking about studying for boards, and we were also talking about like how we were going to go about applying for jobs and timeline. Do you recall what you were guessing we were going to do?
I think we were guessing that we were going to apply during our final clinical and have a job set up before graduation.
Mm-mm.
Really?
At least like, I mean, I don't know how much you said, but I know that I said I pictured myself as like a like wait and apply, because I just felt like it was going to be like the least stressful, which is indeed what I did. And I don't regret doing that, really. I mean, here's the thing. I always, like, especially towards the end of clinicals, I was looking at job sites pretty regularly and consistently. And there'd be ones where I was kind of like, okay, if this is still up, then I might, like, this might be one I'll apply to. And I know, like, you run the risk of, like, the job listing is not going to be there by the time you get around to doing it. But I wasn't, like, so stuck on a job offer where I was that concerned about it. And I just felt very free to not have to like study for boards and then also have to like coordinate interviews and work on like any of that stuff. So I thought it was fine. Obviously, do what you gotta do, but
I mean, we also had like other stuff going on like at that point in time last year where it was like obviously clinical and stuff going on, but like everything going on with grandpa. I was like, I'm not even thinking about a job right now. And so then I ended up doing the same thing that you did and just worried about. I don't think I applied for my first job until we were coming back from Hawaii.
yeah. I remember coming like the airport when you're in the airport on the way back. I was like on a job site, like looking at jobs because I was like, okay,
work.
I guess it's.
Well, because you and I were like,
I even like submitted something to a posting, like
in the airport.
In the airport,
I do remember that. Well, it's funny because you and I were just like, well, I got a trip I'm going on. What am I supposed to do about it? And then the trip's over, and you're like, well, I guess I should look for a job.
And to be honest, just going based off of like seeing our other classmates on social media, like I think whether or not they had like jobs lined up, many of our classmates had like trips that they went on prior to starting work because you know we were all in that mode. So
you at least were right, and then I don't remember what I said.
And I don't know if you were like vocally like said something different. Studying for boards, there was like nothing specific about that. We did indeed study for boards, and that definitely did pick up around that time because I know during our last clinical it was kind of a mix of I was trying to study for boards and I was getting more consistent with that, but also I was trying to finish up my case presentation, and then once like I feel like the board studying didn't really pick up until
graduation,
after graduation, because then that was my only responsibility, but we were certainly, you know,
and that was such like
doing
a
things before
double-edged sword because it was like nice to have like, you know, no time like obligations as far as like, you know, if you go to work you have to like be at work at a certain time, and when we were studying for boards it was like just up to us to put in a certain amount of time, but it could be at whatever time we wanted, and so that was nice. But I also just felt like this heavy cloud hanging over me of like, well, you probably gotta study at least like, you know, X many hours. But we ended up bringing it down to like 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what I most remember doing. I don't know what is typical, but like even those 4 hours were getting to a point where it's like, this is just feels long. Like after studying every day, basically. We never studied during weekends really because I didn't feel like it was necessary to do that.
And we just went based off of like our practice tests and then also our PEAT exam. Our PEAT is basically like a previous board exam that our school made us all take, and then it's supposed to tell you how likely you are to pass boards on the first try. And so like ours both said you should pass it on the first try. So I was like, well, you know, if the PEAT says I will, then, you know, I don't need to study that much more. So Megan and I mean, it ended up working out fine. You know, we passed on the first try, so no complaints. But I think I'd be curious to know like what our classmates did for like their studying schedule. Because I never really asked anyone.
I wonder if we were on the stricter side or if we were on like the more lenient side.
Like I could see it going either way, or maybe we were right in the middle.
Maybe we were doing what everyone else was doing. Next we were talking about setting preference. I know I specifically wrote down what I said, and I don't know if you just agreed or if I just skipped over what you said, but I have what I said written down.
Do you want me to guess what I said?
Yeah.
Sorry. I mean, you don't have it written down. I would have guessed. I think I've been saying inpatient rehab for a while.
So I said inpatient rehab or possibly maybe outpatient neuro. Granted, when I recorded that, I had envisioned that I had an inpatient rehab clinical set up because at the time I did. Clinicals come around. That doesn't end up happening. I end up doing an acute hospital clinical instead, and that kind of made me like not having the inpatient rehab experience made me kind of second guess my ability to like really jump head in to like an inpatient rehab position. Also, job postings are limited. Ciera had the experience that I did not have. I felt like if there was going to be a position open, I was like gonna let you apply for it and not like fight you on the spot.
Fight for a job.
And Ciera has like an inpatient rehab PRN position, but like there is no, at least not that we're aware of, nothing in the area for that setting. And then I also mentioned outpatient neuro. I still like, I think now especially, SNF is like, I know SNF and inpatient rehab are so different. That's what Ciera and I are both in now, but like it is kind of the only other comparable option. So even like my job that I have now, I feel much better prepared.
Like,
to,
and it's
feel
so
comfortable
common
going
too
into
for people to go from SNF to inpatient rehab or vice versa.
So I definitely do think that I could see myself, if and when something were to be available in inpatient rehab, like be comfortable transitioning to something like that. Outpatient neuro is also something that I still am interested in, but to be honest, like right now, like it's probably more so like a barrier between like inpatient and outpatient is like where my head's at right now, because I do feel like you just automatically get more flexibility with your schedule when you're doing an inpatient position, and I like that a lot, versus outpatient's just going to be more strict with scheduling, and that's also can be a good thing. But I also like, and every once in a while, like I'll check out job listings and stuff, and nothing out there is really drawing my eye. So never say never. But I feel like the most common position right now is like there's a couple like typical outpatient schedules, or like a lot of it's SNF. And never say never for me doing just typical old outpatient PT, but it's just not what I'd be comfortable with right now.
It's so funny because when you're in PT school and then when you're studying for board, they're like, most of it is all like outpatient orthopedics because that's 80% of the PT workforce.
I can understand and like do the comprehension stuff, but like I would just have to like really retrain my brain in terms of like the diagnostics and like the eval. And I'm doing a little bit of outpatient with my current job now. Like it's not like I never see outpatient, which helps me keep me on my toes and whatnot. And I have to revisit some things every once in a while. But it's just like not, and I know I'm like a baby PT, so it's not going to be second nature. But we have like our musculoskeletal professor, like, and he's been doing that for who knows how long. And it's just like someone could come in, he'd eval them, and he'd be like, okay, here's what's wrong. Here's me explaining it perfectly.
There's
here's
one story that he told us of, I don't even remember what the injury was. You might be more familiar with it than I am off the top of my head. But I think it was during our like foot unit or something. He was talking about like this person had chronic like foot pain. They like nothing could fix it. Like they've gone to get like an x-ray and whatever else. And I don't think this was like on the first session, but like pretty soon after they started PT, he did some like
a not very common joint mobilization.
Yeah. And they're cured.
Yeah.
That was it. That was the issue. And I'm like, I just simply don't think I could do that. It would take me a lot of clinical experience to be able to do that.
Okay. I was like, what's next? It's on my phone. Then we were talking about, so like that was kind of all we talked about, school and career wise. So a little bit of like some differences here, because none of us, we didn't mention SNF specifically, but that's where we both ended up. If I say SNF, I think I said skilled nursing also though. That's what SNF is. Skilled nursing facilities, long-term care. That's what we do. So we were talking about having stuff set up. Like this was like during 2021. We were like, well, in 1 year I think we'll like maybe have an apartment, because we've got stuff set up for apartment tours when we are going back for break. And so we'd also like looked at a couple apartments. We are excited about that. No mention of houses at all.
And I remember because we hadn't even considered a house until like I think early January.
It wasn't until after we did that second round of looking at apartments and townhomes, I think, not townhomes, is when we just kind of like, we weren't happy with what we were seeing and like the price we were paying. And then we kind of were like, okay, maybe we should start the initial process.
And it was more so like just out of curiosity, we went and like got that initial like pre-approval that you need to get before you purchase a house for like loans and stuff. And we're like, well, we don't even like know if we get approved, so like we could just do that and like see what we get approved for, and like we don't even have to touch it if we don't want to.
Once you do that, like you can start looking at houses.
Yeah, basically. And we did that, and we're like, well, that's not too bad.
It was
And
more
then-
intriguing than what we were seeing with apartments.
And then we just like talked through, and we like talked through this whole process, I think, in a podcast after we bought our house too. But we were just talking about like with a mortgage versus what we'd want to pay in rent. We're paying, I think, less now for a monthly mortgage than like we were planning to pay in rent. Obviously, you have a down payment you have to pay, which like is a lot of money. But we were able to like work that through to like be a comfortable rate, and I think it just worked out. No regrets at this point. Now we can say a year out from even, you know, when that projection would have been. We're feeling good.
Then we were kind of getting a little bit specific, like with all the talk about moving. We were kind of like, we're talking about how like, I think one of us brought up like, do you think when we move, you're going to like redo like your room setup? And so you were saying that you had just kind of paid for your Fiverr person. So you're like, no, I don't think so. I think I'll stick with what I have because that's what I like.
That is mostly true.
And then I said I was getting the itch to want to redo my room, but I was going to try and
because what was your
push it
room
off.
before we had moved? What was it? Its final iteration?
Like those printed posters hanging on the wall, but I was never going to bring those with me.
And like the white bedspread with your
White
pillows,
bedspread, pillows, and then my dresser.
desk, all that stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
I can see it now.
And so I had been saying like I kind of wanted to redo it, but I also like was kind of telling myself not right away. Maybe like live with it for a little bit. I feel like we moved into this house, and within a month, I was like,
I need
new.
I
can't get this set up how I want it. Like the dresser wasn't working. I didn't really have a need for it anymore because of my closet, and so I was like, I just feel like if I'm gonna redo it, now makes the most sense. So that's what I did. I did redo my room.
How would you
pretty
describe
shortly after
like how
moving in.
different would you say like the two styles of your room are? Do you think like they're kind of related, or do you think that
I
you
feel
went a
like
different route?
I don't think they're like that different. Because like I had 3 prints in my last room. I have 3 prints in my current room. A little more color in my old room, and like I kind of kept things kind of neutral and airy with some greens and blues in how it is now. But I had like some wood tones in my last room. I have some wood tones in my room this time around. So I don't know. I think they're like you'd easily be like, okay, this is the same person. Maybe a little more mature.
Mm-hmm. My room again is predominantly the same as it was when we moved in, or when we moved out of the apartment, in the sense that like the color scheme and stuff is all the same, and like my bedding, pillows, I still have the same plants and stuff. The thing that I did change was my furniture, kind of like Megan, because I mean mostly it was like my room was smaller in this house.
Really, I say
then-
because I take such credit in like convincing you to change your room, because I was like, Ciera, this bed is not working for the space.
Yeah, my apartment room in Iowa City was bigger than my room size now, and so everything was just a little bit crammed. My bed was really high for the space, and so Megan convinced me to get a soft frame bed, which is significantly lower to the ground. I changed out to get like just a nightstand instead of like my big TV stand. My TV's on the wall.
It just like
And I
gives
got
you
like a
so much
little
more
shelf.
like feng shui in the room.
I have a whole video on our Megan and Ciera channel if you want to see the
Both, honestly,
transformation.
like, even from our old apartment, you could see
Yeah,
that.
we
which
have a
honestly,
couple
like,
room makers
that's-
on our channel, so
Yeah, go check
Um,
them out. Interior design mode.
basically. But yeah, and then I got some new prints too, but that's like same thing. I had some like paper prints in Iowa City that I was not planning on bringing with me once I took them off the wall. So I feel like my room now is same style, but just slightly elevated and, like you
And
said,
you
more
did
mature.
wait like a good chunk of time before you even redid your room.
Yeah, like 7 months or something.
I don't even remember.
7 or 8
but-
months.
All right, next you were talking about, here's how you worded it. You
Oh.
said that 1 year from then, you thought you'd have an idea of when to get a dog.
Okay.
So you didn't say you think you were going to have a dog, but you were talking about I guess I won't jump ahead too much yet, but that was the first thing.
Okay.
Do you feel like when we graduated, you had an idea of when you were getting a dog?
My idea would have been I'm getting a
To
dog
be
next
honest,
year.
Okay. But I remember also at the beginning of this year even, we were thinking it was going to be more like May, I feel like.
Mhm. I did
We
think
really
it was
thought
going to be
gonna
earlier.
sooner.
It just, with when I got a job, it kept not making sense to like get a dog.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wasn't really working full time at my current job until May 1st. And so I was like, well, I'm not going to get a dog before I get a job, because then how's that going to work? And then I wanted to like get settled into my job. My job was hectic when I first started working there. I was the only physical therapist there. And so I was like, my schedule is too unpredictable. I don't want to get a dog with this schedule.
Yeah.
And so, and like also just when my schedule started settling down, I feel like it was more July, August. We had stuff going on. And then like there wasn't like a dog that was really speaking to me on like online postings and stuff, because I wanted to adopt. And so just like perfect timing worked out when you found Vegas's litter. And I was like, you know what? I think things are settling down.
Mm-hmm. It really felt for once like a good time. Like we actually
And then I was kind of like, it's now or never, because I don't want to get a dog when it's like actually like cold outside.
Yeah. Then we were talking about, with talking about a dog, you had also mentioned during clinicals, like going back to Cedar Rapids and living with Haley and Ashton and all of that. And it's like, that never happened, did it?
Wow.
Never happened. So if you haven't been around for a long time, just a little backstory. Haley's our sister, if you really don't know us that well.
Hello, this is your first episode. This is a bad one to join us on.
She had been living in Cedar Rapids, which is like only like a half hour or so from Iowa City. And she was living there with her, they weren't even engaged at that time.
They were. They got engaged in 2020.
Okay, yes, true. So they were living up there in a house. And so plan was, Ciera had 2 clinicals in the Des Moines area. And then her last one was going to be back over there. We were no longer going to have our
And I had
apartment at
only
that time.
really like, I mean, I was interested in the clinical. That's why I wanted to like do it, because it was inpatient rehab. And we just talked about how I want to be an inpatient rehab girly. And there's only so many options for that, like on our clinical listings and stuff. And I was like, okay, you guys live in Cedar Rapids. Like if I sign up for this clinical, can I live with you?
Because then like housing can be expensive. So.
And they said, yes, of course.
Which was all great and good. That was the plan. However, come the following year, when all of a sudden Ciera and I are looking into, you know, we switched to wanting to buy a house maybe, and we're doing that sort of thing. And then Haley also starts to think like, well, what if we move back
you know what's
to
funny? So,
Des Moines too?
Because this process started in January of 2022. And at like the beginning of January, we had our 2-week clinicals. And so mine was at UIHC, which is the University of Iowa Hospitals and Clinics. Haley also works at UIHC in their HR department. And so like we'd get lunch together a couple times like throughout the week. And I'd be like talking about like house stuff going on, and Haley would be like, oh, like I'm really jealous that you guys are like moving back to Des Moines. And I was like, yeah.
That's been the plan this whole time.
Okay. And then Haley was like, no, like I want to move. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you.
And then
they ended up buying a house before we did.
Please don't. I need a place to stay. They did. They bought a house. They moved back to Des Moines in like April, beginning of May. And at that point, we also had like our offer in our house, and like we knew our moving dates and stuff too. But then Ciera had to find a short-term rental to stay
and I
at
took
instead.
way too long to figure out where I was going to stay in Cedar Rapids. I ended up using, if anyone's curious, it was called like Tenant Cloud or something, I think. Or maybe it was just like the portal that I had to use. No, I think it was Tenant Cloud. It was basically like long-term rentals for people that like move for work and stuff. And my place it was fine. It was okay. It was expensive, but
Had
it was
everything
lonely.
you needed.
It was lonely there, and it was cold upstairs, and there's no dishwasher.
Ciera, I mean, you don't look back like hating it, but I wouldn't say you look back fondly on that.
No, I mean, it's just also like everything going on too.
Yeah.
I was like, I hate Cedar Rapids. My clinical was great. It was just everything else.
Then we also brought up that we were hoping to still be avid readers at that time next year.
We
And
are
because
slaying
we were
the
saying
reading
that
game.
we were saying that year was like our first year of really getting back into reading. So you brought up your whole like your goal that year was to only start with reading 3 books. That was your goal, was read 3 books and see if you can stick with it. And obviously, like as soon as the floodgates opened, like we were in. So we've kind of, I feel like, been.
I really do feel like that's so true for like
doing
anyone. If they're going to be a reader, they just need to read 1, maybe 2 books, and then like they'll know. It has to be like good books for like them, obviously. But I was like hoping, I was like, 3 books, and like I'll drag my feet through it if I have to, and like never read a book again if I don't want to. And even like the books that I read were not like books that I would read now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was a lot of like
You started
Agatha
with, like,
Christie.
You didn't know what you'd like.
Exactly. But then like I would say once I read Inheritance Games and like Silent Patient and then got into like Colleen Hoover, I was like, oh, like there's a lot of stuff I can do. And I was in. And then obviously end of that year, I think I'd read 30 books. Last year I read 40, and then this year I'm hoping to get to 50. So I would say we're very much now 2 years after the fact still rolling with that and loving it as much as ever.
We do love it. This one, this is what I said. I don't think you said anything specific, like in terms of relationships. This is what I said.
Didn't you say like I'm certainly going to have a boyfriend in 1 year?
Yeah, I said, how I worded it in terms of like the odds have to be pretty good, right? Like 1 year from now, I just kind of feel like
The timing will
the
be
timing
right.
will be right, and like I could be in a relationship. And I literally wrote on here, LOL. I've been on one date since making that episode, which is like, that's just how it is.
That's the way the cookie crumbles.
And then I also had been mentioning, I was kind of like, you know, it'd be kind of nice to have like a +1 at Haley's wedding, which like in that episode, granted, I did say like that's pretty soon, so like probably not, because when we recorded that, her wedding was in like 4 months. But you know, I wish I had more to say. I wish I had more to say now.
She wishes she could explain herself. I'm right there with you though. Like I don't know
What's
what
funny,
I said, but
our dad like goes in spurts of listening to our podcast, so like I don't know if he'll listen to this or not. But and I don't know if he's like listened to some of our episodes before where we've talked about like dating and like just kind of our issues, our struggles with it. I don't really care if he does listen to that, because I could probably tell him straight to his face. But from Haley, like Haley has told us, like sometimes me and Dad have talked about you guys and dating and whatnot, and like
we're worried about you guys. They don't say that, but
I'll paraphrase a little bit.
I'm paraphrasing for them.
So our dad, this is like Haley telling us after the fact. This was their conversation,
and our dad knows that Haley told us.
And so he was kind of saying like, well, have they tried like Match.com? And he's showing his age a little bit there. And Haley was like, well, no, but they are on, like, they've tried dating apps. They're on dating apps. So whatever. And so I don't know if our dad told us when we were talking about all this together or if he had told Haley, but he's kind of like, look, I don't want to step on your toes. Like, that is not my intention. But I have maybe a couple
contacts
to like just see if you'd be interested in them, which like I don't have an issue with, but like my family must be lacking in like the type of guy
individual
that I'm
Megan seeks
for.
out.
Because like I hate to say it, but when the only thing you're going based off of is like a picture of someone, that's all you got. And so when it's like they're trying to be nice and like offer, you know, like something to you, and then to just be kind of like, no, sorry. But he gave us like, he's like, I've got 2 people maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were like, no to both.
And Haley's done this too. Haley's had a couple of people that she's like,
It's
maybe.
like, we're probably being too picky, because like, who am I? Who am I to be having such high standards? But I just can't help it.
Mm-hmm. I'm right there with you.
We're in it together. So that was like the dating stuff that we talked about. Travel related stuff we talked about. I had mentioned that I was wanting to maybe go to, this was like a maybe, but I was just talking about like, it'd be nice to go to Europe in summer 2022. And I remember talking about that because I was kind of like, I didn't know if like, you know, if having finished up with school and like when I'd be getting a job, if that would all be like kind of a feasible thing to do. And especially like, I'll be honest, working full time and kind of like, when does one fit in their summer European vacation that they dream of? I don't know. I'll figure it out hopefully.
You just need a week off.
I know, but that didn't happen obviously. It mostly just, we never really took it that seriously to like search for that kind of trip or anything. And I also like, I did end up starting my job, so like I didn't have the PTO for that, and I did not have a trip already planned to kind of say, hey, this is already in the books. So that didn't happen. We also talked a little bit.
You're jumping ahead now because this would have been between clinicals.
You're right. I'm totally getting the timeline confused. So backtrack. That would have meant we only had like a week option to do that. So like, where was I thinking?
Megan was like, actually, that makes no sense. Why would I have done that? That would have been way too much.
Yeah, like, because like it would have been fun to go to Europe, sure, but like, that's kind of like your week off to just like
not do anything.
Nothing. Yeah. Yeah.
So.
So disregard. I got completely mixed up on the timeline there. But that was still my reason, because then I pushed it, in theory last summer. I was kind of like, probably before graduating, I was like, do I want it to be like a summer European vacation vibe? But like I keep coming to like this crossroads of like, I want to do my little summer European vacation.
But you want a boyfriend?
A little bit.
Is that what you're saying?
But like, what we were talking about, I guess, is what I'm saying. I love Ciera and I love vacationing with her. But just the two of us in a foreign country is like maybe not what I'm going for. And I also recognize that like it's not cheap to go to Europe. It can be expensive. And I feel like hoping, maybe possibly, that like within the next few years, maybe we'll say.
We'll just put that out there. Next few years.
I would be in like a serious enough relationship where like that'd be something I'd want to do with someone.
Mm-hmm.
And not to say like, I know you can go on 2 places and vacation more than once, but it's just kind of like something that I would envision and want to experience with someone like a significant other, that now I'm kind of like, do I just kind of like, and also like it's a safety thing too a little bit. Like I said, I don't want to go with just Ciera. So, but I would feel more comfortable. I mean, we went to Europe with us and our mom, and I felt completely comfortable with like where we were at, but I don't know. Just kind of.
I get it.
Just kind of how I'm feeling. We talked a little bit about our plans for spring break, which now I feel like I need to like rethink of.
So this would have been for spring break.
Okay, yeah.
During
I was thinking
PT school.
Right. We talked about like not having anything set in stone, but like how we were wanting to go somewhere warm and tropical.
I mean, tropical is debatable, but we did go somewhere warm.
We went to Florida. We did mention Florida.
Florida is like the go-to USA. Like if you're looking for a spring break spot, like you can find somewhere in Florida. And so we ended up going to Tampa with our friend Morgan. And honestly, like I could not have like pictured a more like relaxing, perfect spring break. Especially
on the reading.
Do you remember we had just not closed on the house? We had just like finalized our offer on our house.
And I was like, because we were about to like be so stressed going on vacation.
Because we knew like if we didn't get the house, so we had this house that we're in. If we didn't get this house, then we'd have to like keep being in contact with our realtor like throughout spring break.
Because things were going so fast.
And I was like, I just want to relax. And so right before we left, we like got that all figured out. And so we could just fully relax, enjoy the sun, enjoy our reading. Between you, me, and Morgan, we did so many like book swaps and like it was so great. Truly such a relaxing time.
Then we were talking about YouTube and what we envisioned for that. So we talked about both our channels. With this channel, we kind of talked about like, honestly, like we're doing pretty much
by
what we
this
said
channel,
now.
do you mean Megan and Ciera?
Yeah. For Megan and Ciera, like we kind of were like, are we wrapped up in this student vlogger identity? But like we kind of came to the conclusion like we're kind of just lifestyle vlogger people, and like we envision we'll still be able to do that once we graduate, and we have. And I don't really feel like, I don't know if we thought it was like gonna be a big deal back then, but I feel like it's been a pretty seamless and smooth transition, and I think that's kind of what we envisioned anyways.
Mm-hmm. I think what also helped, and we obviously didn't know this like, at the time we recorded this episode, but we like were able to pretty seamlessly transition from like being students within the classroom to then like students on clinical rotations, which is essentially working a full-time job.
Yeah.
And then like that is now what we do.
Right. And then we talked about TC2 a little bit. And I was when I was listening to this, I was like, what did we freaking say about TC2? Because I didn't know. Do you recall at all what we said?
I would guess that we would say like we could see it fading out. I don't know.
Our wording was, at the time we were posting on TC2 just kind of as we felt like it. And so we said that is what we wanted to continue doing, posting as we want, or we could see it fizzling out, is what we said.
And we have to keep in mind, like for context, it was, going to last year. We actually like probably right around the time we recorded that. Or was that December?
Yes.
Okay. Well, in October, we posted a video. That was like our first comeback video in like 6 or 7 months after like that had been like a dead channel for that long. And we've only posted 2 videos, right?
I think, yeah, because I feel like we were getting this like inspiration kick, which is like all great and fine. I don't regret making or posting those videos that we did come back and do. And like, I guess like I could say right now I have no active plans of like posting on the channel again, but also you never know. The thing that, where was I going with this? Oh, I feel like when we were in that little spurt of like, this was like last October at this point, and we were kind of like getting the creative juices again for that channel. We then shortly after kind of decided like, okay, we're gonna maybe try and make a short, and we're doing XYZ thing. And there was a time where like we had set out, we were recording, we were getting ready to like do stuff.
Because it was supposed to be like a short for like how to do like a back bend or something.
Yeah. And then we started doing said back bends and stretches. And like, we are not the same people. We are not the same gymnasts we were back then. And so I really like, it hit me like I ran into like a wall of bricks or something. It's not the
You're
best
like,
phrase.
we can't do this.
I was like, this feels so inaccurate to who I am now. And I'm trying to like step back because I don't do, like, I appreciate gymnastics. Every once in a while when we do go back to the gym, I will do stuff here and there, but like, it is not something I actively incorporate into my life at this point. And so like, I have not kept the skills or the flexibility. So I really felt kind of like a fraud going and trying to like make content like that again. And so that really was kind of when I was like, oh, like, and I know, you know, we can always think about pivoting and whatnot, but it's just not where my, like, I don't have the mental capacity at this point to like figure out, oh, I'm pivoting and I'm doing this now on this channel.
And I think we would also just like rather spend our energy at this point focusing on things like the podcast, like the Megan and Ciera channel, and like seeing how to expand those.
I want to, like, I love social media and I love having like different options for connecting with you guys and like having different like revenue streams. It's all very helpful, gives us flexibility, but I also really do in a way appreciate like the mundaneness of like, I like my privacy. I'm not actively trying to like grow to 1 million plus I say that as we had like 2 million subscribers on TC2, but like, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to be like the next big thing.
Like, you're not trying to like blow up and like get your second wind as like an influencer.
I'm just trying to like maximize on like what I have right now.
Keep you guys up to date. Those of you who like to follow along with us and,
you know, and
make content that you guys enjoy.
Growth is good. And I'm all about growth, but it's
Except
just
our
not.
Megan and Ciera channel, my goodness, like that's the definition of like stagnant. Like the subscriber count on that is like consistently just like within the same 2,000 or 3,000 for like the past couple years. It's insane. But yeah, as far as TC2 stuff, I honestly feel like the hardest part or like the scariest part with TC2 like ending, and at this point we had already like ended it to a certain extent when we recorded the episode, but it was just like the fear of like, well, what do people like expect of us? And we'd like seen views and stuff dwindle and stuff. Like that wasn't like, it's not like we were stopping while we had this massive like captive audience, but I was like, I felt so bad, you know, like what's gonna happen when we like stop posting and like people like are used to us. And then I was like, you didn't get like that, you know, major influx of like, where's the new video, blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, maybe this is fine, and like maybe people have outgrown it enough that like it's not a big deal if it ends. And that's continued to be the case where now, especially like on TikTok and stuff too, where people like occasionally recognize us, or like Maggie, if she posts, I'll see comments on her TikToks too of like people recognizing us. And I have realized that I'm fine being like that nostalgic person that people watched on YouTube. Obviously some people still watch us, you know, like you guys, and keep up with us, but like I realized that my largest captive audience was like from a different channel like that I did years ago. And I'm fine with that.
And you can appreciate that for what it was.
Like you like look back to, and it's like,
it's nice to
that's
have
impressive.
the comments of like, I grew up with like watching you guys.
Yeah.
Or like that doesn't bother me at all. Okay, I have a few more on here. We did mention a podcast rebrand because at that time we still had our OG blue cover, and then I know we did that rebrand like just a couple months after, and we have been with it since.
I'm honestly impressed. We did like that one, like our rebrand photo shoot was done professionally, and those were great photos and stuff that we used. But then like for our next photo shoot, we're like, could we do it ourselves? And we've done a pretty good job, like with our own self photo shoots. I
think if we had one other person, like,
yes,
we could really do some good work. It's a little hard trying to get pictures of both of us.
Yeah, I think that this would take just a little bit more planning, like you said, to get like one person, like literally someone from our family, to help us out,
like,
and like
help us out.
Either help us out here or like, you know, rent something for like by the hour.
But we could just
like
do it
downtown
ourselves and edit. That's been fun to like kind of take on that role, and I like where we're at so far. I do kind of feel like the pictures, even now, like a little bit outdated because like my hair's longer now, but no active like rebranding plans, and I don't think we would do like a full 180 with
like it'd stay the same colors and stuff. Yeah,
an updated take. I love, nothing's mentioned about merch, but I'm just like on the subject. I would love to do something.
Give Megan merch ideas.
Related. I had also mentioned, talking about the podcast, like wanting to get like a creative director type of person to help out with.
And we tried
posting,
that.
And we did try that. We tried it. It wasn't like a year after that. It was longer.
No, it was when we moved to Des Moines.
It was when we had moved here, and
it was this year. Was it this year?
Was it? I have to
no,
go.
I'm confused. I feel like it was last year.
Let me.
Because wasn't it like a what I want for Christmas type of thing that we posted?
Hold on, you might be right. So maybe if it was before, it would have had to have been before December, right?
I think so. Megan and I
so
both
maybe
like
it was within the year
we
had. I'm scrolling as fast as I can.
I mean, if it's that far, like, then it should have been.
We worked with her from
her first post.
January 12th.
Okay, so it was this
like,
year.
But we were maybe in contact before the year was up. That weirdly did, because I had talked specifically about like the ideal candidate of like who that person would be, and like I wanted them to be local. I wanted them to be someone where like if we needed to do stuff in person, they'd be another option. And I had tried prior to finding this person, like to do some little searches to find someone like that, and then this person like fell into my lap is what it seemed like. I felt like I wasn't even looking for someone, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, she's local, she has a style that we like, she's our age, which like I really wanted just like preferably a girl kind of in our age range to like
that gets in space.
And so like she just kind of like fell into our lap, and so we worked with her for like 3 months or so, I think, and it was all great and good. It just was kind of like, I don't think that this budget is conducive to like the need that we have, which is not as large of, like, we just didn't have the need for her, but she did everything we asked her to, and it was good. But I was kind of like, I think we can't justify continuing to allocate said budget to this.
And then we entered our Canva era.
So we've been doing Canva a lot ourselves. Comes and goes in waves in terms of how on top of it we are.
And like I think we do an okay job overall.
And I'm glad we tried it. And I think that ideally in a perfect world it would be something that like we'd go back to. But I also feel like it's nice to have a little bit more control of like what it looks like and what our feed is, and you know, we don't have to spend money then to pay someone else to do it.
Right.
So that's the big thing. I have 2 more things, I think. One, podcast studio for video was mentioned, but as we were talking about, like,
look at that.
Because one of the apartments we toured, I think, had like a little alcove or something. So that was kind of like how we brought up, like, oh, it'd be really nice to have just like a small area even for video, if possible. What we have now is better than anything I could have ever dreamed up or imagined.
Because we thought maybe we'd have like a guest bedroom that we could like kind of set up for podcasting and like get a camera set up in there. But like with this house, we have a whole office, and like if we didn't have the podcast, like genuinely, what would we use the space for?
No idea. Nothing. Like we use it for studying for boards, and now the whole desk over there just is like storage,
podcast stuff, and it just genuinely like it could not be more perfect.
Imagine like one of these days we could even like revamp the set. Who knows?
We could. If you guys have any, we still have not put anything on my side of the wall.
Just disregard.
We'll just wait until we do a revamp. We're not painting this wall again, though. At least not for a long time.
The last thing we had was we were talking about like making new friends once we moved back to Des Moines.
Ooh.
I will say we have reconnected with old friends, and like I know we could continue reconnecting with them, but like I'm bad at reaching out. Is like
one thing about me is I'm not a good friend.
So we have reconnected with some old friends a little bit, and the good thing is like with those friends, like it had been like a long time since we'd gotten together, but like as soon as we're together, like it's kind of like no time has passed. So it's like it's those kinds of friends where it's like I know I could do a better job to like be in your life more consistently, but I don't do that. And it's
that's also like it's the double-edged sword of like, well, like they could do the same, and it's like whose fault is
it's
it?
Like we're all
it's no
I
one's
think
fault.
It's just kind of like we're all in like that new grad life where everyone's trying to like get a hold of their situation and their life, and
like you get in a routine, and then like it's hard to even think about like doing anything outside of that routine. Like if I'm not seeing you regularly, then I'm like, well, I'm not even thinking of you. No offense. Like you're not top of mind.
So still, you know, I even tried Bumble BFF like very briefly. This was like months ago, sometime during the summer, and it wasn't like all bad, but I was just kind of like, I really like it's just a lot of work to think about like going to go like I already have a hard enough time to like convince myself to go on like a date with someone else, convincing myself to do that just to like go make friends. I was like, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah, we need to start going just out and about more publicly.
We need to make merch about.
We need to be less
out and about.
homebodies.
I feel like we say that so much. We're like, we need to get out and about.
Maybe
and it's like so opposite of who we are.
We're such homebodies.
I even was like, I was thinking, I was like, you worked today anyways. And like, it was more so like, I know with Halloween weekend, like, that's like people go out and about because like that's what you do.
Yeah.
So it's like I had no desire really to do that, but I was kind of like, should I be forcing myself to go?
Or for last night?
Yeah.
Oh. What would you dress up as?
No idea. I would have had to have make something up. You know what I saw actually today though for a TikTok that would have been like an easy costume?
What?
People just like wear a normal outfit and then put like a little Sims headband thing on, like their Sim, but like your outfit could be whatever.
Gotcha.
Which, anyways, I was just like, it was more so me kind of like scolding myself, being like, you know you could be doing something, but you're not. And I was kind of like, and I don't care.
I'm going to bed and I'm reading my book.
So I thought about it and then I was like, no. And I was like, I was kind of using you as like justifying me not going. But like also the idea of doing something by yourself is like, I don't think anyone does that. And if you do, more power to you. But I was like
goes out by themselves.
Yeah. Especially on like Halloween weekend. But I know I was like, in theory, Ciera doesn't like own what I do or don't do. But I was just like, I mean, I wasn't really considering because like I wasn't going to do that. So that was my easy cop out. I was like, Ciera has to work tomorrow. Like there's no way it's going to work.
Okay. I didn't know that. That's my first time hearing it along with you guys. Was that everything?
That was all
we talked about. Well, so much has changed and yet nothing has changed in 2 years.
Yeah.
Anyways, have you guys enjoyed this episode? Let us know any future episode ideas that you guys want to see, want us to talk about. And if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, you can search According to Podcast, or if you're watching our faces right now and you haven't yet subscribed, you could do that. Help us out.
Otherwise, we will talk to you guys next Thursday. Bye.